Hello. I have a wonderful quality problem to discuss with you today, and I call it the Goldilocks syndrome. I am very, very good at launching rockets of desire. And unlike this other gentleman, I have an unusual problem, and they manifest instantaneously in some cases, within a day, within a few days. And the beauty of this is that I have lived maybe 3 lifetimes in the 40 years I've been on this planet. I lead a wonderful life, and for that I'm grateful. But what happens often is that in these instant manifestations, I will receive the exact opposite to the extreme of what I was initially deciding through contrast I did not want in my life. For example, if and this would just be kind of a hypothetical, if I were with a lover who was a wonderful person but had a Napoleon complex.
Give us something that happened, not a hypothetical.
Okay, something that has happened. I had a relationship with a gentleman who was very stingy.
Sounds just like your hypothetical.
I have this friend. I have this friend who, again, I was in a relationship with him, and he had a Napoleon complex and was a little bit on the shorter side. And I said to myself, this is a great individual, but I would really love to meet someone who is very confident and statuesque. And literally 2 days later, meet an individual who is about 6'7" and has the exact same issue, but the other side of that coin in having the gentle giant complex. I'm too tall for you. So first it's the I'm too short for you, I'm too tall for you. And it's comical because this keeps remanifesting in every arena.
Well, it's a perfect conversation to have on the heels of what we were just talking about just now. Because it's forcing the manifestation. By my determination to manifest, I'm requesting of the universe speed rather than quality. And you can see how you sort of keep this going, because you say, I manifest almost instantaneously. And we've been teasing audiences for years as we say, if you manifested instantaneously, you'd be doing a whole lot more cleanup work than you really want to do, you see.
Yes.
And so it's a nice thing to realize the power of attraction, but it's also a nice thing to be clear about what you want. And sometimes, you see, in all of that process, we would say, so you're interacting with someone who's not as tall and not as confident as you would like him to be. And so in your vortex, you put a version of that there. But then before you've really lined up with that version, while you're still focused upon the problem, you attract another one who's on the other end of that. In other words, you didn't attract the other end of the stick. You attracted the same end of the stick. The same end of the stick of someone unhappy with who they are. And so, more contrast. The analogy that we offered some years ago is that someone could live in a house and let's say the house just doesn't have enough closets. And so they really get fixated on really wanting a house with more closets. And then they find one and they move in only to discover that this house doesn't have a kitchen. And they were so fixated on closets that they weren't sort of rounding it out a little bit.
Yes.
And what really is happening in all of this is it comes a little bit from a misunderstanding about what deliberate creation is. Where you feel like if you'll just keep defining, that then the universe will yield what you've defined. And we're soothing that here today by teaching you that when you are really affirming, before you get in the vortex, you keep getting more of what you do not want. That this is the exact replication or representation of what we were talking about with these cards, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So the answer is get into the vortex. Why do you want the relationship? What is it that you're looking for? Find the feeling place of the relationship. What is it that you're looking for?
I'm looking for an outstanding life partner.
Why?
That's a good question. I guess I just enjoy the interview process because I've been married many times.
But But think about why. Think about why. You do enjoy the interview process, that's for sure, because the energy is moving all over the place on it. But why do you want an outstanding relationship? What is it about a relationship that you're reaching for?
I think it goes back to I find myself very much in the vortex the majority of the time. I'm very grateful for that, and I tend to be magnetic, and I bring others into my existence, many others. And so I'm looking for someone to share living in the vortex with, someone who will share some of those basic things.
So let's just simplify this a little bit, because you've already complicated it because our questions sort of put you in a place where you felt like you needed to justify. And that wasn't our intention at all. Our intention was to get you to get to the heart of what a delicious relationship is. What is it about a relationship that the idea of it feels good to you?
It is the joy and the positive feelings that come from sharing. And just as you described earlier, that feeling of being in love and how it helps reduce resistance in all areas of life, I literally feel like I tend to live that way, oddly enough. And perhaps, as many people would say, that many relationships tend for 3 to 4 months in the early part of the relationship continue to maintain that. Perhaps I find myself constantly seeking it or attracting it and living there.
Here's what we think about this. and it's not just you, but it's with a lot. That it's a very common thing to feel the benefit of someone who's in alignment, holding you as their object of attention. It's just delicious to have someone loving you. And it's equally delicious to hold someone as your object of attention to love also.
Yes.
So there's a tendency to misunderstand and to assume that feeling is about the other person and you.
Right.
When really what it's about is you're using that other person to be your object of attention, and that other person is using you to be that object of attention, to hold someone in appreciation. But what's really happening is you're aligning with your source. You're aligning with the vortex. You've filled the gap. You've fulfilled. You've become who you are, because in your attention that evokes love from you, you are purely aligned with the whole of who you are, and that's what's flowing through you. It's flowing through you to another, you see. Mm-hmm. And so when we say, why do you want a relationship? What we want to say first is the relationship that you're looking for really is the relationship with your own inner being. And once you consistently align there, then it's just logical that source energy and law of attraction and all those cooperative components will arrange in precise detail for you someone who is the stature you like, someone who is the heart that you like, someone who is in the vibrational rhythm that you like, someone that is in the financial position that you like. In other words, because you've been putting all of those pieces into the vortex.
Yes.
You've been putting them all there. You're just wanting the vortex to do the mixing of the cake, you see.
So how do I slow down and allow the vortex to, as we talked about the pregnancy analogy, to just let it gestate, let it give birth on its own?
By no longer trying to micromanage it so hard yourself. By trusting that. Let us ask you some questions. Do you believe that there is a vibrational version that precedes the manifestational version?
Yes.
So, and do you believe that law of attraction has amassed a focal point that is tangible? Do you believe in the existence of the vortex?
Absolutely.
And do you believe that through the living of life and all of those relationships that you have created a magnificent, really pleasing relationship?
Yes.
And do you understand that by getting to the heart of the question that we ask, why do you want the relationship, that when you answer it from the same standpoint of why you want the vortex, why you want connection with your inner being, when you give that as your answer to why you want the relationship and really mean it, then the relationship will be yours. I want to be in the vortex because then I begin to see the world. Then I always see the world through the eyes of Source. I adore being in the vortex because the whole of me is present in every moment. I love being in the vortex because I'm clear-minded and vital and alive. I'm full of fun and insight and clarity. I want to be in the vortex because I know that all things that I've asked for are there. And I love the idea of the delicious, unique unfolding of relationships and experiences and exposure to life. You see how you're in the vortex and then in the vortex and then, where if you don't take the time to tune yourself into the vortex and you're out here with someone who it really wasn't all good at that good of a relationship, and you say, don't want a relationship like this, want a different one, and the next one comes and it's equally uncomfortable, it's because you didn't enter the vortex before you allowed the universe to yield it to you, you see. The universe is holding out for everything that you want. You don't have to give up intelligence for fun. You don't have to give up fun for money. You don't have to give up money for companionship. In other words, the vortex can give you everything you want in a relationship. You just got to trust that you've put it there, do you?
I do.
You've got to trust that it exists in a now vibrational state of being, do you?
I do.
And then, the most important thing, you've got to figure out how to get in there and in there, and in there, and in there. And if we were standing in your physical shoes, we'd stay off that subject for a while because that subject is the hardest one to get in on. You've been doing too much thinking about it, you see.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.